Aquarius. There's a strange kind of feeling when you find yourself standing between two chapters of your life, no longer fully part of the past, yet not quite stepped into what's next. Everything still looks familiar, the rhythm of your days feels the same, but somewhere deep inside, you can sense that something is shifting. It's not a change you can clearly name, just a longer pause than usual, a thought that lingers a little more, a feeling that gently invites you to look back at yourself. And then, somewhere within that quiet, a soft question begins to form. Am I stepping into a different phase? One I've never experienced in quite this way before? There's no need to rush an answer. Just stay with that feeling for a moment. Because from these very subtle shifts, something new may already be unfolding. In the way you see things, in the way you choose, and in the way you receive what life brings toward you. Aquarius. There are seasons in life that can't quite be named with a single clear word. They're not dark enough to make you feel completely lost, yet not bright enough to assure you you're on the right path. You still do the familiar things. You still see the familiar faces. You still move through your days, as if nothing has really changed. But somewhere within, there's a very subtle layer of emotion quietly shifting. You begin to notice that some things, which once felt so important, no longer feel the same to hold on to. Not because they were wrong, not because you've stopped appreciating them, just they no longer fit who you are in this moment. And that truth, if you're honest with yourself, isn't always easy to accept right away. There may have been times you tried to hold on to something, a relationship, a way of thinking, or even an older version of yourself, not because you couldn't let go, but because you weren't ready to face the space that would follow. But over time, something begins to soften. You grow tired of holding everything together just to keep it the same. Not a loud kind of exhaustion, but a quiet, deep settling, like sitting alone with yourself and realizing you no longer want to argue with your own thoughts. You stop searching for immediate answers. You stop forcing yourself to understand everything all at once. You simply pause. And somehow, in the very moment you stop trying to control everything, something begins to shift, not on the outside, but in the way you feel within. You begin to allow things to be there without needing to name them right away. A small sadness can exist without being pushed away. A sense of uncertainty can remain without needing to be explained. And within that space, a different kind of peace begins to appear. Not a perfect kind of peace, but a quiet knowing that you're no longer fighting yourself. Aquarius. This may not be the season where you have all the answers, but it may be the season where you begin to set down the questions you no longer need to carry. And sometimes, growth doesn't come from understanding more. It comes from recognizing what you no longer need to hold on to. Right there, in that very gentle pause, a new kind of space begins to open. No rush, no pressure, just enough room for a different version of you to quietly take shape. Oh, Aquarius. You've never been someone who lacks things to reach for. Ideas, plans, versions of the future you've once seen so clearly in your mind. At times, those visions become the very force that moves you forward. But at other times, they quietly leave you with a feeling that you're somehow still behind something, a familiar thought. Just a little more. Once I get there, when things finally make sense, then I'll be okay. But lately you may be starting to notice something subtle, that the feeling of being okay doesn't always come after everything becomes perfect. It can appear right in the middle of what you already have, not forced contentment, not telling yourself, this should be enough, but a very gentle realization. Maybe I'm not as lacking as I once thought. There are still things that feel unclear, and still parts of your life left unfinished, still pieces that haven't arrived where you once hoped they would, and yet, there are also things quietly in place, connections that feel sincere enough, small opportunities that are real, ordinary moments you might have once moved past too quickly. Now, you linger a little longer, not to analyze, just to feel. And within those simple moments, something begins to emerge, a sense of fullness from within. No need for too many reasons, no need to explain it all, just you no longer feel like you're missing something big, and something interesting happens. As that sense of lack begins to soften, The way you see everything starts to shift. You stop viewing opportunities as something you must grab at any cost. You stop seeing others as pieces you need to complete yourself. Instead, you begin to look at life with a lighter distance, as if you can choose rather than rush. And from that very subtle shift, a different kind of abundance begins to appear. Not loud, not overwhelming, but steady. A quiet sense that you have enough to take the next step. An idea arriving at the right moment. A passing comment that lingers in your mind. A small opportunity that this time you don't overlook, little by little, like light slipping through a narrow space you hadn't noticed before. Aquarius. Enough may not be a finish line. It may be a state of being, a place where you stand more firmly within yourself, so that, from there, what comes into your life no longer carries the weight of lack. And perhaps, when you begin to feel enough in your own quiet way, that's also the moment another door starts to open, where what truly fits you can find its way to you more naturally. And when you begin to feel what enough truly is, something else starts to appear, very gently, very slowly, so quietly you might not even notice it at first. It's not a big visible change that everyone can see, not the kind of life turning a page you hear about in stories. It's more like a series of small moments, arriving, passing, yet leaving behind a different feeling within you, an invitation you might have once declined, a conversation that seems ordinary, yet lingers in your mind longer than expected, someone entering your space, not loudly, not carrying any clear expectations, yet somehow their presence makes things feel a little lighter, a little easier, or sometimes, it's just a simple idea, something you feel drawn to try, but once overlooked because you thought it's not the right time. From the outside, none of these things seem particularly meaningful. They're not big enough to call opportunities, not clear enough to be certain you should take them, but this time, you're not seeing them the way you used to. You're no longer rushing to decide what's worth it and what's not. Instead, you allow yourself to stay with the feeling a little longer. You begin to notice how something makes you feel, not a strong rush of excitement, but a quiet sense of ease, a kind of curiosity that carries no pressure, a feeling that you could try without needing to be completely certain. And right here, a subtle shift is taking place. You're no longer waiting for something big to believe life is opening for you. You begin to realize that even the smallest things can carry their own meaning, not because they are extraordinary, but because you are seeing them through a different lens. Aquarius. Perhaps abundance doesn't always arrive in the form you once imagined. It may not come as a grand gift. It may not arrive with a clear sign you can recognize right away, but it can show up in the way you connect with someone, in the way you allow yourself to try something new, in the way you open your heart, without as much guarding as before. And what's worth noticing is this: as you change the way you see, what you receive begins to change as well. Not because the outside world suddenly becomes different, but because you're no longer standing in the same place within yourself. You're no longer approaching life from a sense of lack. You're beginning to move from a place that already feels more whole. And from there, things that once seemed small begin to have room to grow. Fragile connections may deepen over time. Passing ideas may slowly become something more tangible. No need to rush, no need to force. It's simply you learning to recognize what you once overlooked. And sometimes, what changes is not what comes to you, but that you are finally ready to see it. And then, after you begin to see things differently, after even the smallest moments start to carry their own quiet meaning, something else begins to appear within you. Not a clear answer, not a strong signal that makes everything certain right away, but a feeling. Very soft, hard to grasp, yet somehow, it's there more often than you realize. You might notice it in the most ordinary moments, standing in front of a small decision, pausing over something no one else can choose for you. Before, you may have searched for answers outside of yourself, through advice, through clear signs, through careful analysis just to avoid getting it wrong. But lately, you may be starting to see that not everything needs to be explained before you take a step forward. You begin to listen to something within, not loud, not demanding, just a quiet sense. This feels right for me. Or sometimes there's something here that makes me want to stay a little longer. No clear reason, no solid proof, just a kind of alignment that's hard to explain. Aquarius. This may be the first time in a long while you no longer need everything to make perfect sense before you allow yourself to trust it. You don't need 100% certainty. You don't need guarantees that you won't make mistakes. You only need something small, a sense of peace when you think about it, and somehow that begins to feel like enough. Not so you rush into things without thinking, but so you allow yourself to take small steps, without needing to see the entire path ahead. Intuition, in truth, is not a loud voice. It doesn't try to convince you. It doesn't argue. It doesn't force you to listen. It simply exists, like a soft wave touching you, then fading away. If you're too busy, you might miss it. If you're moving too fast, you might overlook it. But when you slow down, when you give yourself a deep enough pause, you begin to hear it a little more clearly. Not because it becomes louder, but because you've become quieter. And in that quiet, you begin to realize something simple. You're not as lost as you once thought. There is a part of you that has always known how you feel. That can still recognize what fits and what no longer belongs in your life. It's just that before, the noise outside was too loud for you to hear it clearly. And now, as you stop trying to control everything the way you used to, as you allow yourself not to understand everything all at once, intuition finally has space to speak. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be right from the very beginning. You just need to be willing to listen, even a little, and trust that small feeling. Because sometimes those steps that seem uncertain are quietly guiding you closer to where you were meant to go all along. And as you begin to listen to yourself more clearly, as those quiet signals within you are no longer drowned out, something else begins to change. The way you receive what's coming into your life. Before, you may have been used to working hard just to feel worthy of something, trying to prove yourself, trying to improve, trying to become a better version before allowing yourself to receive anything good. As if everything had to be earned, as if only when you were good enough, strong enough, perfect enough, life would finally allow you to have more. But somewhere along this journey, something begins to shift. You start to feel tired, not because you've lost the desire to move forward, but because you realize you've spent so much time standing on the side of having to try that you forgot. Some things don't need to be chased. And from that realization, a very gentle question appears. If I didn't have to prove anything anymore, how would I receive what comes to me? That question doesn't need an answer right away. It simply stays there, like a new kind of space opening within you. And within that space, you begin to try something different. You allow yourself to receive, without needing too many reasons, to accept help without feeling weaker, to accept a small opportunity without needing to be 100% ready, to accept care without immediately asking yourself, do I deserve this? At first, this may feel unfamiliar. Part of you may still want to step back, still want to do everything alone, still want to stay in control, but this time, you don't rush to turn it away. You stay with it a little longer. Yes, and something interesting happens. When you stop closing off too quickly, the smallest things begin to create real shifts. The right kind of support can take you further than you expected. A small opportunity can open a direction you hadn't considered. A simple connection can grow into something more meaningful over time. There's no need to force it. No need to turn everything into a big plan. It's simply you allowing the flow to move through your life more naturally. Aquarius. You may not need to become a perfect version of yourself to receive something good. You may not need to arrive somewhere to be worthy of abundance. Maybe the fact that you are still here, still listening to yourself, still learning to open just a little more, is already a kind of readiness. And as you begin to see yourself with more gentleness like this, the way you receive the world begins to change as well. You no longer receive from a place of lack. You no longer hold on as if everything might slip away. Instead, you receive with a quieter ease, as if you trust that what comes has its own reason. And if something leaves, you no longer feel like you've lost everything. It simply means that part of the flow has completed its role, and within this new way of receiving, a different kind of life begins to take shape. Not because everything changes overnight, but because you are no longer the same person looking at the world through the same old fears. You are becoming someone who knows how to stay open, so that what truly belongs can find its way to you more naturally. And when you look back on the path you've just walked, you may notice something a little unexpected. There wasn't a single moment that felt like a breakthrough. No clear milestone where you could say, this is where everything changed. And yet, if you slow down for a moment, you can feel it. Something is different. In the way you respond, in the way you think, in the way you sit with yourself when no one else is around. These changes aren't loud, they don't ask to be seen, but they are real. Like ground being quietly built beneath you, layer by layer, unnoticed at first, yet shaping everything that will stand upon it. Aquarius. This phase may not make you feel like you've achieved something big, but perhaps this is where you are becoming more steady within yourself. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're no longer afraid of the questions that don't yet have them. You can stay with what's unclear without needing to run. You can feel something without needing to fix it right away. You can let something come into your life without holding it too tightly. And these small shifts, they're not small at all. They are forming a very different kind of foundation. One built from the stillness you've learned to accept, from a quiet kind of growth that doesn't need to prove itself, and from a gentleness you're beginning to offer yourself more than before. And from that place, life may begin to respond to you in a different way. Not instantly, not in the way you once imagined, but perhaps what truly fits you will begin to appear, not because you chased it, but because you've become a space where it can stay. Though a space no longer crowded by old expectations, no longer weighed down by things you once tried to hold on to, just open enough for something new to enter. And maybe that's the deeper meaning of this phase, not to turn you into someone else, but to bring you closer to who you've always been. If you're moving through days like this, you don't have to understand everything right now. You don't have to move faster. Just notice something small. Lately, what has shifted within you? Even just a little. A thought that feels different. An emotion you're beginning to allow. A small choice you might not have made before. If you want, try putting it into words. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be right. It's simply a way to recognize that you are, in fact, moving forward. And sometimes, a journey doesn't begin with a big step, but with a moment where you pause, listen, and gently choose to move ahead in your own way.